The agricultural sector plays a crucial role in West Africa. Firstly, an economic function. In fact, it contributes up to 35% to the formation of regional gross domestic product. In addition, 60% of the working population of West Africa works in agriculture, despite its low funding.
Le financement de l'agriculture, c'est ça qui souffre. Parce que si
the funding of agriculture, that's where the shoe pinches, because if agriculture, which is the engine of our economies, was funded up to what agriculture was supposed to be, and here I'm talking about the broader agriculture, it is clear that we would not be here because developed countries have first and foremost worked on their agricultural sector by putting enough resources. Once you increase the production, you have to work on processing. Working on processing helps create small industries, which will in turn help absorb these young people who are currently leaving the rural areas, because the type of agriculture practiced today does not take into account the young people who have some instruction, or those young men and women who went to college and who do not intend to return to the land with a hoe.
Despite its importance in the regional economy, the agricultural sector in West Africa is characterized by low productivity and faces severe environmental constraints. To optimize the agricultural production of the region, the Commission of the ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, has implemented the NEPA, National Programs of Agricultural Investments, and PRIA, the Regional Program of Agricultural Investment, since 2005.
Les acquis sont au niveau institutionnel.
The achievements at the institutional level. Never before did we set up a policy at the national and regional level. We did it together, so this was a teaching. From a practical standpoint, the PINA had implementation projects. It is true that the ambitions were out there, but all the countries did not have the same reactions, the same funding capacities to reach, it was about to say, 100% of their funding needs. But they still implemented programs.
L'un des objectifs, c'est justement de faire en sorte que nous ayons une agriculture.
One of the objectives is to make sure that we have an agriculture whose productivity and profitability are improved, that the governance of professional organizations is enhanced, and also that the players of the sector become more professional through capacity building.
Du secteur agricole deviennent des véritables professionnels avec le renforcement des capacités. Et comme je le disais tantôt, il y a des investissements structurants qui ont été faits.
Like I said earlier, there are structuring investments, such as water control and other activities likely to help add value. Let's say just something like primary processing of our foodstuff to have an added value. To date, after 5 years of implementation in terms of resource mobilization, we managed to have at least 60% because, as we said here, the planned scheme is to have the PINIA funded up to 60% by the private sector and 40% by the state through structuring investments.
Par l'État au niveau des investissements structurants.
La mise en œuvre du PNIA, ça nous a permis beaucoup de choses. D'abord, ça a permis d'instituer le dialogue entre tous les acteurs.
The implementation of the PINA helped us realize several things. First off, it allowed for a dialogue between all stakeholders, which is important. In Mali, a dynamic has been created. All the programs and projects are developed according with the architecture of the PINA.
Tout ce processus s'est fait avec l'architecture du PNIA.
So currently, all these processes are carried out based on the PINA, and this is done in a dynamic way. Discussions are conducted from the bottom up, so there is basically policy dialogue. As part of the implementation, this helped us have more facilities both with the technical and financial partners, the civil society, the private sector, and even the profession.
10 years after the launch of NEPA and PRIA, the ECOWAS member states have decided to move to the second phase. And for its development, stakeholders recently gathered in Abidjan. The major objective is to provide the NEPA and the PRIA instruments that can improve food security in West Africa by 2025. In fact, today the challenge for the region is to take into account in agricultural strategies, accessibility and quality of food through nutrition, dimension, specific gender aspects, research and risk related to climate change.
À l'issue de Dakar, novembre 2015,
At the end of the Dakar meeting, November 2015, the ministers gave some guidelines and key strategic recommendations for the next planning series of the ECOWAS-ECOWAP up to 2025. They also gave us a roadmap. As part of the implementation of this roadmap, a high-level technical meeting was held to draft a methodological toolkit because the ministers emphasized on the need to have a common process, a harmonized process, so all countries can work within the same framework. The high-level technical group validated the methodological toolkit for the revision of the PINA, the National Program of Agricultural Investments and Regional Program of Agricultural Investments, which will incorporate the new terms and the new guidelines defined by the ministers.
Il est apparu, en tout cas, la nécessité.
It appeared clearly that there is a need to strengthen the capacities of the countries to better mobilize resources depending on the challenges facing the countries, so agriculture can have all the resources likely to consolidate its role as engine for the economic and social development of our countries.
Currently, 80% of the food needs of the region are met by regional productions. However, in the coming years, agriculture in West Africa will meet strong demand as a result of continuing population growth. The region will have, in effect, more than 400 million people in 2020 and 500 million in 2030, hence the need for West Africa to find innovative funding mechanisms to maintain the pace of agricultural production in the coming years to achieve full food sovereignty.
Dans la nouvelle génération des PINEA et du PRIA, il faudra que nous...
With the new generation of PINA and PRIA, we have to make sure that we as experts and planners have to convince the governments, and in terms of public expenditures, they have to tell us how much money they are ready to put in agriculture and what will be the end result. Is it expected to significantly contribute to economic growth, to GDP? Is it really expected to change the paradigms? Because we cannot invest and keep saying we are suffering from food insecurity, from malnutrition, starvation, etc. So it is up to us to show to the government, the decision makers and leaders, that they should allocate more financial resources to agriculture, and furthermore, these investments will help mobilize other funding sources and even public sponsors.
À mobiliser d'autres sources de financement et même l'épargne publique.
Dans tous les pays,
in all countries, the budget lines for agriculture have increased. In all countries, agriculture productions have increased. To me, the expected outcomes were not reached because of population increase, but there are impacts. If you look at the hunger prevalence rate, generally speaking, it went down. Regarding malnutrition, even if we face some issues, it is decreasing. Maybe if we better mainstream the issues of social protection and nutrition in the second generation programs, maybe the effects would be more visible.
The lack of funding is not the only challenge in the ECOWAS region. In fact, the agricultural sector suffered the brunt of the effects of climate change. The rainfall varies from less than 150 millimeters in the Saharan zone in the north to close than 3,000 millimeters in the south in the coastal countries of the Gulf of Guinea. This induces a very wide diversity of agricultural production systems based on opportunities for crop development. To optimize agricultural production despite a variation in rainfall in the region, the current emergency is the integration of three important factors of production in the NEPA and PRIA: seed selection, fertilizer, and mechanization of agriculture. And this is where the research weighs in.
Il y avait beaucoup de technologies innovantes qui ont été produites dans les pays.
There were several innovative technologies produced in the countries, by the countries, but increasingly, technologies move around from one country to another, and this is the very meaning of the regional collaboration. We cannot say that, let's say, should an issue come up in Burkina Faso, that issue will not be addressed until we get something from nearby Mali? If we have the same environments, people who look alike, cultures which almost are the same, the outcomes can just transcend and go beyond national borders.
Les résultats peuvent transcender les frontières nationales.
La région a une très grande richesse.
The region has worked extensively to come up with this tool, but so far this instrument is rather scattered. somehow poorly classified and poorly incorporated.
Et quelque part, le résultat de ça, c'est que le matériel que nous produisons.
As a result, the materials that we created are going to feed the agricultures of other continents without any consequence. So we felt the need to classify, to take a census and group all these plant materials under the form of a catalog, which will help know that for a given variety, this is its potential, its environmental adaptation area, etc.
Voilà sa zone écologique.
Another aspect considered in the second phase of NEPA and prior is that of increased trade in agricultural products in the region. These exchanges are currently estimated between 80 and 90% of the volume and value of inter-community trade in the ECOWAS.
The free movement of people and goods in West Africa is an important challenge to our sub-region. No matter the quality of the agricultural policy, if the trade is not up to par, if trade instruments do not facilitate the free movement of goods and people in the regional space, agriculture may be facing challenges. I often put it simply by saying agriculture is the fuel, the industry the car, and trade is the driver. We have to put together these three components if we want to have a competitive and strong economy in West Africa.
forte en Afrique de l'Ouest.
If you want to take your cattle from, let's say, Kati, Mali, up to the port of Conakry, Guinea, this is costly. You'll have to pay illicit taxes at all those checkpoints.
Des postes de contrôle et des taxes illicites que vous devez payer. Je pense que la région est consciente de ça.
To me, the region is aware of this, and we have to lift all these barriers because we have a huge potential out there. Just in 2010, the potential food market of the region was targeted at $178 billion. Just to say again that the potential is out there.
Donc cela veut dire que le potentiel existe.
The implementation of NAIP and prior will begin in 2017 in all 15 member states of ECOWAS. Before that, a validation phase will be held at the end of 2016. By 2025, this investment program aims to achieve 6% of agricultural growth and increased food production in West Africa.